I am so happy that you're able to join us for this extended interview. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get more killer resources. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this extended interview with Grace, where she's going to share how to become an expert digital marketer. Hey Grace, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I am good. So before we get to your awesome tips and tricks, can you tell us a little bit more about you and why you live an offbeat life?
Okay. So I was born and raised in Jersey. I've been living here my whole life, but I feel like I've had too much like an adventurous personality to myself. So I got really hooked on traveling ever since my backpacking trip in Italy exactly a year ago. And ever since then, I've literally been traveling somewhere every month, and I don't ever intend on stopping. But then also, I have this huge love for digital marketing specifically. And currently, at my 9 to 5 job, I do work within the digital marketing space and even outside of work too. So, yeah, I'm just learning day by day and just trying to just build up my skill sets and knowledge within the space.
Well, it's definitely a passion of yours to do this because you're doing it at work and outside of work.
Yeah, a lot of people they get surprised when I tell them I have a job and they're like, "What you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I basically have two full-time jobs. I have my 9 to 5 and like my 5 to 12 or 1 or whenever I
Yeah.
sleep."
That's definitely how we all started in the beginning. It's like it's what drives you to you're so
Mhm.
passionate about it.
Exactly, exactly.
So Grace, can you tell us what a digital marketer actually is?
I think a digital marketer is someone who knows how to brand themselves well within every different type of digital marketing niche. So anything from SEO or paid search or email marketing, someone who knows how to brand whatever they're trying to brand correctly. It can be a company, it can be a person, it can be anything. But just being able to grab someone's attention initially, make them emotional, and honestly, become a lead. Become a lead in whatever they define that to be as.
Now, what services do you actually offer to your clients as a digital marketer?
So right now, I don't have a specific company that I use, but right now I am freelancing on my blog and my Instagram. Those are two of the main platforms that I use, but anything written content related.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is just making sure that they're being seen from different platforms, like you said, social media, websites, and SEO and paid search. All of those things are just really crucial to actually growing a business.
Exactly.
Mhm. Now, how can you learn the skills to actually do this job?
Well, what I always say that if you're interested in learning something, you will do anything in your power to go learn it. So I always say that you can become a genius off of YouTube. You really can. And that's where I initially learned how to use all these platforms. So specifically within a paid search, I would just Google how to do this, how to do that. Like same with SEO, like what are the best like techniques and ways to like rank on Google or something. And that led me to like podcasts. So I'm really religious to this podcast called The Marketing School by Neil Patel and
Mm.
Eric Sue. And they're like geniuses within the space. And like every day I'm making sure that like I'm educating myself within something digital marketing related, but it's also something that I willingly want to learn as well.
I'm definitely on the same page as you, Grace. I am such a nerd when it comes to learning new things to grow and also marketing. And it's really great to do that. There's so many people out there who know what they're doing, but it's also really hard sometimes to figure out who you can trust. Now, for somebody who is just starting to do this or also interested, who would be the best people to look out for in terms of being experts and they actually have proven methods that work?
So the one I did mention about SEO, Neil Patel, he is like so good at what he does. If you literally look up Neil Patel or anything SEO related, he usually is ranking number one. And he has a podcast called The Marketing School, and those podcasts are really short. So if you just have like 5 to 10 minutes to spare, just listening to one podcast a day will really expedite your knowledge within SEO. For paid search, I read a lot on Search Engine Land, and Jenny Marvin is someone that like I look up to, and she's so good at what she does as well. She writes a lot of written content. Even if you look her up, she's like one of the top notch leaders within the space. Yeah, those are the two that I mainly follow. I know there's a lot more like Gary Vee.
Mhm.
He's a huge one in the space too. Yeah, he's just good at everything. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of him too,
Yeah.
but yeah, really good way that they do.
Now, what do you actually need in order to land a client, whether if it's to have a portfolio, a website, etc.?
I think persistency is like the most important thing. So like in the beginning, it's going to be really hard because you're going to be reaching out to people and you don't have like the leverage or credibility that you have the services that you can offer. But I feel like if as long as you're persistent and you reach out to like X amount of people per day, and you'll be able to build your clientele. And obviously knowing how to brand yourself as either a person or a company you're trying to brand, and really leveraging your digital platform. So I think it's really important to have like a website, to have Instagram, and those two are probably the two biggest things, and also having an email list. I mean, currently I'm in the process of building up my email list, so I can't really talk too much about it, but I like that's how you retain, like all your customers and clients.
Yeah, that those are really good tips to definitely do. It's like with everything else, it's a long-term game and it's going to take a little bit of time and work to do it unless you have a ton of money to pay other people to do this who are absolute experts at it. But if you're like us, you kind of start from zero before you get to, 5 to 10. So
Exactly.
make sure, again, like Grace said, you just have to be really persistent.
Yeah,
Now, Grace,
yeah.
what about finding clients? How do you look for them and how do you actually approach them?
Personally, I think Instagram is like one of the best platforms out there because it's a personal portfolio. And what I'll do is I'll look through people's profiles and I'll see that if they're a good fit or not. I'll reach out to them. Usually they'll have their emails. I'll like message them on Instagram and email them at the same time. Sometimes they even have their number. Then if you really want to get creepy, just call them up. And a lot of people will be surprised at like the fact that you took that extra step to call them and to build that relationship. Or I use LinkedIn a lot as well. I'll reach out to people on LinkedIn. It has a lot of their like business portfolios in there. So if I see that they are credible and they're like hardworking people, I'll reach out to them. I end up just doing one-on-ones. And I think that's the most effective because I'm sure that you could kind of market yourself more in person. I mean, if you're not more of a face-to-face person too, I know a lot of people, they're more email driven and phone driven. Just setting up that initial call and like to make sure that you're really following up with people because it's really easy to just not follow up people and forget.
Yeah. Follow up is definitely the key to any of this because sometimes it takes a really long time. There's like the sales statistics of 80% of sales are made on the 5 to 12 contacts. So you really have to keep going
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
before you land a contract or a client.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Grace, for all of the tips. Do you have any others that we didn't touch up on?
No, not specifically, but I would probably just say to just keep going. I know there can be a lot of talk out there saying like, the digital age is like super saturated right now, but all you have to do is just like negative those voices out of your head and just focus on yourself and just being you. And honestly, if you have a goal you set for yourself and you have a vision for it, you'll reach it.
Perfect. That is a good motto to have with anything.
Thanks.
So, Grace, if our listeners want to know more about you, where can they find you?
You can find me on my blog at gracefkim.com, or I'm very active on my Instagram. It's also gracefkim. You can find me there.
Perfect. That's easy to find. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing all of your awesome tips and tricks with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Debbie. I had so much fun.
I hope you enjoyed this extended interview with Grace. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get the full interview where she shares how she was able to land a remote digital marketing position without previous experience. Hey listeners, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Lucky for you, I have created a new site that will help you learn how to launch, grow, and monetize your own show. I offer one-on-one mentorship programs, and I'm launching an ebook, How to Create a Profitable Podcast, that can help you take your podcast from hobby to profitable business. Visit howtocreateapodcast.com to learn more. Again, that's howtocreateapodcast.com. See you there. Thanks for joining me on this extended interview. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. We can also chat some more on Facebook at The OB Live. I'll talk to you soon.